On June 3rd, a rare event known as the Parade of Planets will occur where 6 planets of the solar system will align in a straight line, visible just before sunrise. Now, you know me, I love looking up at the night sky. And when somebody sent me this meme that had this blurb of June 3rd being this rare event, Parade of Planets, I went to go dig into it a little bit and discovered that it's not just on June 3rd. In fact, for most of June, we're going to see this alignment of these planets, which is pretty cool. And the only thing to keep in mind is you might not see it. And that's because this happens just before, it'll happen in the middle of the night, like between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And also, depending on where you are in the Northern Hemisphere, you might not see this entire lineup. You might just see a few of the planets involved. Now, the planets involved are Mercury, Jupiter, Uranus, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn. Now, during this time, most of these planets are in Gemini. It is Gemini season after all, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Some of them are still in Taurus, and then a few are in Neptune. A few of them are in Pisces. But my loves, because I've already been rambling and I haven't done so yet, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Paul Galoro. This is your astrology report for June 3rd to June 16. Now, as I mentioned, it is Gemini season, and Gemini season brings awareness to how we communicate, our thinking patterns, and our mindset. There's a lot of energy moving in this area of the sky, and it's inviting us to renew our perceptions and our inner dialogue. Now, a lot of cool things are happening. We've got many of the celestial bodies or planets and luminaries interacting with the sun. We've got a new moon happening in Gemini. So this is really exciting because the last new moon that we had was in Taurus. It was the first new moon that we had that wasn't involved in an eclipse season. The one before that was that major solar eclipse that we had in Aries. This new moon that's coming up is going to start a new process for us, a new lunar cycle. It's also going to usher in a new energy, a new vibe. Now, when I look at 2024, I see it kind of in two parts. The first part was when it was pre this period of time. The planet Jupiter was in Taurus, recently moved into Gemini, and this is now bringing a new focus of expansion and abundance into this area of all the things that Gemini represents, our communication style, how we think, our mindset. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on. I want to show you first what we're going to be looking at. Now, this is what we as astrologers use when we are looking at the sky. I've got this set for midnight, June 3rd, 2024. This is at my time zone, Eastern time zone, near where I live. And if you can see here, these are the little sections of the sky. We've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc., all the way around. Here's the sun at 13 degrees Gemini on June 3rd. And then we can see we've got Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, and then the moon, Mars. This is Chiron. This is the north node. You won't be able to see those in the night sky. And then there's Neptune and Saturn all the way over there in Pisces. It's a really interesting little parade that you see going on here. Now, the sun and Venus are so close together. They're both at 13 degrees of Gemini. Their minutes are off by a little bit, but we're going to see in a few days from this point, we're going to see that Venus will meet up with the sun precisely at a certain point and then overtake the sun, which is really cool because we'll be in this period where our heart is leading the way. Actually, let me fast forward you to that point. It's right there. You see Venus here beside the sun. And then by noon on June 4th, she's going to be in front of the sun. And then as this 2-week period progresses, we've got Venus leading the way. So that is our heart. Let's go back to June 3rd here because something pretty cool happens on June 3rd. We have Mercury, the planet of communication, has now moved into Gemini, and Mercury feels at home in this sign. Mercury will be in Gemini from June 3rd till about June 17th. So this is a time for us to be expressive, right? Mercury is how we express ourselves, is how we communicate not only with others, but how we communicate ourselves. It is a time for being inquisitive. We're going to find that our mind might even feel a little bit sharper at this point. Now, as I say that, I'm going to put like a little, hey, just a heads up that sometimes for some of us, when Mercury is in Gemini, it becomes too much air. And so we might find ourselves being very fickle, or we might find it really hard to focus. So this period of June 3rd to June 17th, it's really important that we do things that will keep us grounded, do things that will help us focus our mind. If you have a yoga or meditation practice, you really want to lean into that because it will definitely help us to stay sharp and focused. Another shadow side of Gemini season is that scattered thinking, restlessness, and like I said, that difficulty to focus. So it's important that you do your things to keep yourself focused as best as you can. Now, as I showed you on the screen, we're going to see on June 4th, just before noon, Venus will conjunct the sun. They will come together, and then Venus will move past the sun and will begin to lead. So I think of this as our heart is leading the way. But before she does, and I say she because Venus, before our heart does lead the way, she goes under this purification process. Now, anytime a planet aligns with the sun, it's like a new moon, basically. The new moon is when the moon and the sun come together in the same place. This is a time where we set new intentions for that lunar cycle. So I look at any time a planet comes in line with the sun as the same thing. If you imagine the sun is this hot ball of fire, that any planet that crosses over in front of the sun or aligns with the sun kind of walks through this fire of transformation. And so we can use this period as an opportunity to any of the stuff in our heart that is blocking us from truly connecting to others and connecting with others and connecting from a place of authenticity, connecting from a place of pleasure and connecting all of our senses into our experience. So we're not just in our head, we're not just in our body, but we're taking it all in together. That all of that is going under this purification process. So if there's anything that's standing in your way, this is the time to hand it over to the sun, to burn it up, to dissolve it, so that the any of the barriers to giving and receiving love can be dissolved in this time. And it's really interesting that this happens on June 4th because, here, let me show you something, because we've got, like I said, the sun will come. We start this period, June 3rd. We've got both the sun and Venus at 13 degrees of Gemini. They kind of move together. They're by at the same degree or like 1 degree off for a little while. And then we'll see at some point Venus will start to, like I said, take the lead and she'll go. But this kind of purification process is happening, and the sun and Venus will be so close to one another for this period of, let's say, June 3rd to June 6th. The exact moment will be June 4th. So again, we want to think of ways that we can set new intentions that will bring our conscious awareness to how we give and receive love. Is that Venus is exactly that. It's that energy exchange, how we give and receive love, what we find pleasurable, also what we value, not just in our in the world, like the things that we value, but what we value in our relationships, what we value in our heart. So how we connect with others, our sense of pleasure, this is all falling under Venus's domain. And so the sun and Venus are coming together in Gemini. This conjunction brings focus on our mental concentration, intellectual stimulation, also our playfulness in our interactions, in our relationships with ourselves and with others, and also how we express ourselves. So all of this energy is undergoing this transformation. So it's a great time for you to really sit and think, who am I in relationship? How do I give and receive love? And what's blocking me from being my authentic self to truly connect with others? So that's all happening. And at the same time, like this just gets better. We haven't even hit the new moon yet. If you're looking at the screen again, now what we see happening in and around June 4th is not only do we got um, uh, the sun and Venus coming together, we also have Jupiter and Mercury coming together. So Jupiter, the planet of expansion, Mercury is the planet of communication, our mind. So again, Mercury representing our communication styles, how we think, our thinking patterns, our learning process even all falls under Mercury's domain. And with Jupiter being the planet of expansion and abundance, it represents growth and optimism and the pursuit of knowledge. So when these two planets come together at the same point, the communicator and the curious, um, the communicator is Mars, the curious is Gemini, abundance and expansion is Jupiter. So when these two planets, Jupiter and Mars, come together in Gemini, it really invites us to look at our intellectual pursuits. Look at what we're learning, how we're learning. Is there something new that we want to learn to expand our mind? How we can express ourselves with confidence, right? Getting spreading ourselves out. I don't want to say spreading ourselves out too. Not. I don't want to make it sound like spreading ourselves out too thin, but like just reaching out into the world around us and how we can do that confidently. That's really what we will see with this Jupiter Mercury conjunction. And it just happens for like a split second. So while the sun and Venus are going to kind of dance together for a while, Jupiter doesn't really move much. He moves very slowly. It takes him a year to get through one sign. That's 30 degrees. But Mercury, it takes him like 2 to 3 weeks sometimes to go through a sign. So again, 30 degrees. He's moving a little bit quicker. But the sun and our heart will kind of linger together for a moment. Mercury just underwent this big expansion, and then we'll get to the new moon in Gemini. So Mercury is catching up to the sun and Venus. So our mind is trying to catch up to our heart. But this time here with the new moon in Gemini, it's happening exactly June 6th at 8:38 a.m. Eastern time. But we're in this energy of the new moon from the moment the moon enters Gemini, which will be somewhere around like late in the evening, or actually, hold on. June 5th at midnight, the moon. So just after midnight, probably like 2, 3 in the morning, the moon will move into Gemini. And then we are in that energy of the new moon. And the moon will stay in Gemini for about 2 days. So we've got this whole period of like June 5th, June 6th. Let's see how far we will go. A little bit into June 7th. By noon on June 7th, the moon will move out of Gemini and into Cancer, moving us out of the energy of the new moon. But we still have opportunities to set intentions. So think about this for a second. We're starting a new lunar cycle. It's in the Gemini mansion. So we're looking at communication. We're looking at the intellectual processes. We're looking at how we communicate and how we express ourselves. The sun and Venus are happening together. And then our emotional space, the moon comes in alignment with the sun. So it goes through a purification process along with Venus. And it invites us to, again, look at how we communicate. So we want to set intentions that lead with the heart. Because remember, so if we go to the moment of the new moon is precise, like I said, in the morning on June 6th. So what I'm showing you here is noon on June 6th. We've got the moon and Jupiter, excuse me, the moon and the sun together, and Venus is there. She's there in the lead. So we want to set these intentions from the heart that invite us to continue leading with our heart. At the same time, though, this little connection of the sun and Venus and the moon, it's going to be squaring Saturn. So with this like square to Saturn, although we're making these intentions of like leading from our heart, how we can connect, how we can express ourselves, how we can get ourselves communicating out there more and expressing and sharing a little bit more. We've got this little Saturn in Pisces over there. That's going to give us a chance to it's going to invite us to look at what's limiting ourselves, because Saturn, like structure, it's going to invite us to look at how we unconsciously limit ourselves with our thoughts, right? Thought creates form on some level. And so if our thoughts are creating resistance in our life, then we're going to have resistance in our life. If our thoughts are creating lack in our life, then we're going to have lack in our life. So we want to examine at the same time, as we're setting these intentions from our heart and leading with our heart, we also want to examine where we're unconsciously limiting ourselves. And once and for all, let that go and set an intention to be more expressive and to be a little bit more vulnerable, and allowing that vulnerability to happen, and not let it consume us, and not let it shut us down even more. So again, this Sun Venus conjunction is going to bring into our awareness all the things about relationship and how we communicate. Also, Venus represents our finances. So there might even be some like career stuff that you're reflecting on as we go. But the importance here is to remember to recognize the value of your connections, what you're learning, and diversity. Gemini is a diverse a sign. So we want to bring that in there as well. So again, this parade still going, but then I also will bring your eyes here to Mars. Now, Mars is currently in Aries. He's home at Aries. He's at home in Aries. So remember I talked about Mercury being at home in Gemini. He rules this sign, so he feels comfortable there. A lot of the Gemini qualities come from Mercury. A lot of the Aries qualities come from Mars. And Mars has spent the last probably 6 weeks in Aries. So Mars, representing the planet of action, how we do things. It signifies our drive, our motivation, how we go about doing things. Mars is the go-getter energy. So with him in Aries, he's like, he is on his game. So you may have been feeling in this past like 6 weeks or so, this like wanting to do things and get into action and all of that stuff. And now with Mars moving into Taurus, it invites us to slow down a little bit. Taurus, fixed Earth. So it really, Taurus focuses on stability, security, comfort, sensuality. Now with Mars in this space, it's going to invite us to slow down. Slow and steady wins the race, right? That Mars energy gets like a Taurus vibe. So it invites us to be a little bit more patient and methodical in our approach. As an earth sign, predictability is also a thing. Mars is a little bit more spontaneous, so it invites, when Mars is in Taurus, it invites us to kind of like be a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Be a little bit more predictable, a little bit more methodical in your approach to achieving your goals. Instead of being impulsive, take a moment to like really stop and think about what's happening. You might notice that in this time where it seems like, the past 6 weeks, oh my gosh, things were moving. Now things might seem to be moving slowly. Don't freak out about that. Use this as an opportunity. If you want to think of like, what would Taurus do? Taurus would make sure that everything is in order, that it feels good, that it smells good, that it looks good, right? These are all, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So think of that beauty aspect in there as well. It also really invites us to persevere, right? Taurus is known for its perseverance. It's a fixed sign. Of course, it's going to persevere. It's going to stick to whatever it puts its mind to for the long haul. So just this transit here with Mars being in Taurus. Now he'll enter Taurus on June 9th. We'll stay there until about July 20th. So it's gonna invite us to be a little bit more persistent. We might get a little boost in our determination to get things done, to see them through. So just kind of be mindful and keep that in your mind as you're going about planning the things that you're going to do and getting those things done. The other thing, because Mars is also sex and aggression, being in Taurus is going to invite us to really enjoy beauty, appreciate it a lot more, bring pleasure into the physical. So make sure that your workouts are enjoyable. Make sure that you're like, everything that you do has an element of pleasure to it. Now, listen to me. When I say everything that you do has an element of pleasure, I'm not talking about it's got to always be like mind blowing and big. I mean, just simply, eating your takeout off of a plate instead of the styrofoam that it comes in. That is a pleasurable way of doing something, right? It doesn't always have to be like, oh, everything feels amazing. Oh, I am always wearing my best perfume or cologne or what. No, but just try to find the way that you can enjoy the things that you're doing a little bit more. Now, I'm rambling here. We got to June 9th when Mars moves into Taurus. And you can see the moon is now moving on. Venus is still very much in the lead. And over the next couple of days, we're going to see the next thing that's going to happen on June 14th. So let's move it forward. Is we've got Mars. Nope, not Mars. I keep on mixing up those two. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Mars and Mercury. But as you can see, on June 14th, June 15th, Mercury and the Sun come together. So now Mercury is our thinking mechanism. And so our mind is going to be purified through that energy of the sun, right? So as Mercury conjoins the sun and then moves past it, all of the mental stuff that stands in our way of fully expressing ourselves is going to undergo this cleansing purification process. And it also becomes like an enlightening moment, right? So the energy of consciousness, which is the sun, the energy of consciousness meets up with our mind. Our mind is illuminated by that. And so we might notice some new insights might be revealed to us. We might have some new revelations. You might start to, your perceptions might shift a little bit. You might start to see a new reality. You might even have some mental clarity around something around this period of time. So the precise moment is June 14th at just after 12 p.m. Noon on the 14th of June. So let's go back there. No, what am I talking about? Sun, Mercury, conjunction. Yeah, it starts to happen on the 14th is where they're at the same degree point. And then by the 25th, Mercury takes over. And now, again, our heart is still in the lead and our mind eventually will catch up. That will happen on the 17th. So I'll save that for our next report. But that is what the next 2-week period is going to look like, astrologically speaking. So, what can you do with this energy? I mean, I just went on and on about all these different things. Kind of the main thing that I'm going to recommend for this period is to get into your body. Mars represents our body in Aries. He's in a fire sign. When he moves into Taurus, he's going to be in an earth sign. So it really invites us to get embodied, move slowly. I would really encourage you to consider some grounding breath work. One that I like to practice in Gemini season is alternate nostril breathing. That is a great way to balance the right and left hemispheres of our brain. So we're getting that Gemini quality in there, that balance and harmony. But it also really invites us to ground ourselves into the present moment. So that's an excellent breathwork practice. In terms of our mind, because with Mercury in Gemini, and there's this tendency to have unfocused or scattered thoughts. Yes, your grounding breath work to get into your body is going to be a great way to help you focus, but then also lean into your mindfulness practices. Anything that you do to center yourself, your yoga, your meditation, yes, but for some people, going for a run is a way to get into your body, to focus your mind. You're only focusing on the one thing, your breath and your feet hitting the pavement. If you can also slow it down a little bit to get into that Mars and Taurus feel, but really lean into your spiritual practices or your mindfulness practices that are going to help you keep your mind focused. And then again, something to do around the new moon, because this is where we can really work with the energy here. So new moon in Gemini, again, how we're communicating, how we're expressing ourselves, how we focus and what we're doing. What's our mindset? That's what we can reset. We can set some intentions around our mindset around this new moon. Another great thing that you can do in Gemini with this new moon in Gemini is journaling. Just stream of consciousness writing. Get all the stuff out of your head, put it on paper so you can actually see what it looks like. And then once you can look at what's going on in your mind, you can start to see where you might need some new intentions, maybe a new intention that feels more aligned with whatever your goals are, whatever your conscious awareness is. Are your actions aligned with your conscious awareness and with your mind and the goals that you have? Those are some of the things that we're looking at during this period. So, my loves, if you want to know how this energy will impact you directly, then check out my website, go to paulgaloro.com. The next 5 people that sign up for an astrology consultation with me, where I sit down and I look at where were the planets at the time that you were born. So I get your natal chart done, and then I compare it to what's going on in this time. So maybe you want to know exactly what intentions you should be setting around this time, or how might this energy play out for you, because it might be playing this idea of expansion of the heart might be playing out in a certain area in your life. And so we can sit and talk about how you can use this energy and this alignment to help you achieve your goals, to be your most authentic self, to set your intentions and follow them so that you are living your most authentic, most vibrant life. Also, because as I mentioned, this is a time to get into your spiritual practice, to help focus your mind, to ground yourself so that your mind isn't all over the place. If you want to check out my Arise program, it's my morning program where we meet for 30 minutes Monday to Friday, and we can meet in real time, or you can do the recording, the practice on demand at your own time. But what we do is we set up our mind, our body, and our spirit for the day so that we can go out into the world and be our most authentic self, lead with our heart, step into the room heart first, but most importantly, to stay grounded in our truth so that we can always show up as our best. So if you want to check out my Arise program, just connect with me at paulgaloro.com. Send me an email. Let me know when you'd like to experience this, and I will send you the links on how to get you set up to try your first real-time experience of Arise with me and with the Sunrise Social, the group of us that attend Arise. So that is it for this week, my love. My loves, next time we meet, we're going to talk about what does it mean when heart and mind come together. And we'll also go deeper into this this lunar cycle. Will hit our full moon, but will also, the sun will move into Cancer the next time that will be in the next report. So I'll tell you all about that and the summer solstice and how you can celebrate that and make the most of it. So that is it for now. I love you so much. Please like and subscribe to this channel. If you're listening to this where you get your podcasts, I'd love for you to give us a rating. So that would mean so much. And if you think that this information would be useful to someone that you love, please feel free to send it to them, share it with them, and invite them to sign up for my newsletter as well. That's it for me, my loves. I love you so much. Happy new moon in Gemini. Happy all these conjunctions that are happening with the sun, burning up the old so that we can step forward bravely and confidently into the new. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.